First off, just some disclosures. We are not affiliated with the federal government or with the Medicare system. We are an independent broker, so we're just not affiliated with Medicare or the federal government. I always forget to change this slide. My name is Adam Fullenkamp, not Dan Holscher. We've been helping retirees over the past 23 years make that transition onto Medicare, also focusing on their Social Security and 401k planning. Seniormark was founded back in January of 2007, so we're in our 13th year of existence. We are an independent firm, meaning we represent a wide variety of companies, from your big carriers such as Aetna, Humana, Anthem, AARP, and then to some of your smaller carriers such as Manhattan, Western United, etc. So, we have a wide variety to, pick a plan that best suits your needs. Obviously, if you're reading this, you probably are viewing this as a recording, so you can't ask any questions, but Shannon and Gina will be asking some questions throughout, and hopefully they give ones that answer. If you do have a question in the future, we do have some contact information at the end, or you can reach out to Shannon and Gina, and they'll send your question on to me and I can respond. So looking at Medicare, and whether you're currently on Medicare or going close into being enrolled into Medicare, it can seem like a confusing subject. Where you have the different parts, Part A, Part B, Part C, you have Medicare Advantage plans, Medicare Supplement. It can look like somebody just took a puzzle and kind of dumped it out on the floor. And so today we're going to try to put that puzzle together, make a little bit more sense out of it. We'll review kind of the enrollment process into Medicare, the 4 different parts of Medicare, 2 options in getting your Medicare coverage, and what your approximate monthly premium costs would be. So what is Medicare? It is a national health insurance program for people who are 65 and older or people who are on disability. It's administered by the Centers for Medicare and Medicaid Services, and the enrollment is actually handled through the Social Security offices or administration. How to enroll. If you're collecting Social Security, you will be automatically enrolled when you turn 65. If you're not collecting Social Security, you're going to have to do it yourself. So you can either call the 800 number, which I have listed on the screen at that 1-800-772-1213. That's the national line for the Social Security Administration. You can do it in person. Unfortunately, right now with the COVID, those offices are temporarily closed to in-person meetings, so you're unable to go in person. You can also do it online through their website, which is ssa.gov. You can apply through Medicare through that. When you do sign up for Medicare, you will receive your Medicare card. The one kind of in the upper left-hand corner is the old card that used to have your Social Security number on it. About 2 years ago, I think back in 2018, they switched everybody to the new card, which is the one in the bottom right. It now has a randomly generated Medicare number that contains both letters and numbers. A little bit protect your identity a lot better than the old one does. When you get it, if you sign up for both Part A and Part B, you'll have that listed on there along with the coverage start dates. If you are turning 65, you would be entering into what's known as your initial enrollment period, which is a 7-month window surrounding your birth month. So it is 3 months prior your birth month and then 3 months after. So if you're born in July, you have June, May, and April, so April, May, and June, to sign up for Medicare. That would then start on July 1st. If you wait until July or later, there's a little bit of a delayed schedule. But as long as you sign up inside that window you won't have any late enrollment penalties or things of that nature. If you don't sign up during that time, you can face a late enrollment penalty. And some of your other insurance options may cease. I know a lot of Obamacare, healthcare.gov programs, they end right at 65. So you want to make sure that you sign up on time. Now, if you do have coverage through work, whether that's through yourself or through a spouse, and they're still actively employed, you can delay your enrollment into Medicare until they do retire or they lose that health insurance. That would qualify you for what's known as a special enrollment period. The special enrollment period, there are a couple different ones, but the most common one is losing that employer coverage. As long as the employer has over 20 or more employees, if you're 65 and above, you can delay your enrollment into Medicare. If you're qualifying for Medicare as underage or under 65, that number changes to, it has to have over 100 employees. So that is something to be concerned about if you are going on to Medicare before 65. If you have questions over either one, contact us or set up an appointment and we can look at your situation individually. That employer coverage must be based on current employment of either self or spouse. So if your spouse is retired and they have coverage through a retiree program, you would still want to sign up for Medicare at that time when you turn 65, because that retiree insurance does not count towards a special enrollment period. So Medicare comes in kind of four basic parts, Part A, B, C, and D. Part A of Medicare deals with all of your inpatient or your hospitalization. So when you're admitted to the hospital, that bill goes through Part A of Medicare. Part B deals with all of your outpatient. So your family doctors, your specialists, any outpatient procedures would go through Part B. Part C is known as a replacement for Medicare or a Medicare Advantage plan. That's where they combine your hospital and your outpatient coverage all underneath one plan. And then Part D is your prescription drug coverage. And we'll kind of go through all four parts and look how they interact with one another. When you're turning 65, and especially when we're coming into this annual enrollment period, which is October 15th through December 7th, you're probably going to receive a bunch of advertisements and see a bunch of advertisements on TV about this plan or that plan. It can make it really confusing, but really it can be broken down into either one of two options. Either option one, which is traditional or original Medicare, which is made up of Part A, Part B, a Medicare supplement, and a prescription drug plan. Or it can go through option two, which is known as a Medicare Advantage, which is Part C. And generally with Medicare Advantage plans, they include prescription drug coverage built into the plan already. So we'll go through both sides. We're going to start off with option one, traditional Medicare. Underneath option one, Part A, as I detailed out, covers your inpatient care. So that's your hospital inpatient care that you might receive at a skilled nursing facility, and also hospice care. Part B deals more or less with your outpatient. So that's your family doctors, specialists, preventative benefits, durable medical equipment, canes, wheelchairs, oxygen would all fall underneath Part B. Also any outpatient services. So if you would go in, and even though you're at the hospital, it may be an outpatient service and it still fall underneath Part B of Medicare. One thing to note, traditional Medicare does not cover long-term care. Even though you may go to a skilled nursing care facility at a nursing home, skilled care is you're getting better to go back home. Long-term care is you're there for the long haul. So one key difference in that regard. Looking at the costs associated with Part A and Part B. Part A, the monthly premiums are based on kind of your work history or your spouse's work history. As you see there, we kind of have it broken down into credits. You can earn up to 4 credits per every year that you work. So as long as you have at least a 10-year work history, like I said, either by yourself or through a spouse, you would receive the 40 credits, and you would receive Part A for $0 a month. There are some people, very, very few people, that do have a premium with Part A, but once again, that's very, very few people. In fact, in my 5 years of working here, I've only seen one person who had to pay a Part A premium. Part B, on the other hand, it's $144.60 a month for people who are turning 65 and are on Medicare here in 2020. Every year they do adjust that. Usually they release the new number sometime in mid-November. So for 2021, that may increase to $150 a month. If you don't sign up for Part B when you're first eligible for it, such as at 65 or coming off an employer plan, you can face up to a 10% penalty, and they add that on. So this would be $14.46. You pay that late enrollment penalty the rest of your life. There's no getting away from it. So it's important to sign up when you're initially eligible for it. The premium can also be higher due to your income. If you have a high income, if you're a married couple filing jointly, and your income is over $174,000 for the year, you will pay a higher premium. Most likely only for a year, because that does reset every January 1st. And I'll talk about that a little bit more on the next slide. Now, Part A and Part B does not cover everything at 100%. There are gaps in coverage. For example, your Part A with a hospital deductible, when you go into the hospital, the first amount would be $1,408. And then Medicare would cover everything above that for the first 60 days that you're in the hospital. Now, if you're in there for an extended period, days 61 through 90, it goes to $352 per day. And then days 91 plus, you start going into your lifetime reserve days. You have 365 lifetime reserve days. And during that time, you'd be responsible for $704 per day. Very few people dive into those lifetime reserve days, but they are there in case you would need them. When you come out of the hospital, you may go into skilled nursing care or rehabilitation. The first 20 days are no cost to you. Medicare pays for it all. For days 21 through 100, you're responsible for $176 per day, okay? So that's the two major gaps underneath Part A of Medicare. Part B, there's an annual deductible of $198. Once you pay the first $198, Medicare will then pay 80%, and you'd be left over with the other 20%. So it's very similar to how most insurances, employer insurances work, where the insurance company will pay 80%, you're responsible for the other 20%. I did talk about the increased premiums due to your income. Medicare looks back 2 years. So if you're looking here in 2020, they look back to the income that you made in 2018. In 2021, they're going to look at your income that you made in 2019. So you can kind of follow along the chart. If you file an individual tax return, you're in that first column. If you file a joint tax return, you're in that second column. You can find where your income lies at, move over across the screen, and you can see what you would pay each month for your Part B premium, and then also an increase on your Part D premium as well. So as I said, this usually lasts for a year, because once you move into, let's say you had a big 2018, That puts you above the $174,000 for filing jointly. You may pay $202. But once 2021 hits and 2019 you were below the 174, you would then drop back down to the 144. So it's not a lifetime increase unless you have high income your entire life. So the biggest gap that Part A and Part B have is that there's no out-of-pocket limit to what you could spend out. So that 20% that Part B has deals with your outpatient coverage. So if you would go in for an outpatient procedure and that procedure is $100,000, you would be responsible for $20,000 of that. Most people don't want to deal with that, so that's why they would add on a Medicare supplement or a Medigap policy. There are 9 different supplemental plans, and they cover the gaps of A and B to varying degrees depending on which plan that you choose. These plans are standardized. So no matter if you look at a plan with Anthem, a plan with AARP, or a plan with Mutual of Omaha, the coverages are exactly the same. What's different is the price that you may pay for that. So it's one thing you want to work with an independent agent to make sure that he's comparing all the different companies, getting you the lowest price possible for each plan. Here is the Medicare supplemental chart. You'll probably see this chart as you're receiving information. We like to color code it, makes it a little bit easier to read. So as you look down each of the columns, each one of those boxes represents a gap in either Part A or Part B of Medicare. If the box is in black, that plan pays that gap for you. If it's in red, that plan does not pay that gap for you. It's a cost that you would still have to pay. So for example, if we look there kind of at the middle of the chart with a Plan G. Plan G, we see that most everything is in black except for that 198, which is in red. So you'd still be responsible for that 198 Part B deductible. But once you pay that for the year, between Medicare and the supplemental Plan G, you'd have no out-of-pocket expenses. So Plan G obviously offers you the most coverage currently, because that's the only one that only has one gap in it. So as you can go through, you can see like Plan A really doesn't make a whole lot of sense because it only covers the Part B 20%. You still be responsible for the hospitalization and a lot of other bills throughout the year. The most popular plans are Plan G and the Plan N. Plan N has that same $198 deductible. Once you pay that for the year, you then have a $20 copay for a doctor's office visit or a $50 copay for an emergency room visit. Plan N is usually about $20 to $25 less a month for that coverage. So depending on how often you're going to the doctor, how often you're interacting with the medical community, it could save you some money over the long haul. One thing that also Plan N does have is a 15% outside of Ohio. That's known as the Part B excess charge. And what that is Medicare has a set price for each doctor visit, each hospital stay. In the state of Ohio, it's a state law that doctors have to accept that price as payment in full. Outside the state of Ohio, they can tack on an additional 15% that you'd be responsible for underneath the Plan N. Plan G, as you see, that is in black, so it would pay that 15% for you. So if you do a lot of traveling, you have a winter home down in Florida, Plan N may not make the most sense for you just because you may be going to the doctor down there. If you're leaving the state a week here, a week there, Plan N would probably still suit your needs. So looking at the cost for these Medicare supplements, for the Sydney zip code, which is a 45365 zip code, looking at a 65-year-old male, they're looking at $112.22 a month. 65 females, $102.52. And then as you see, the 65 male and female for Plan N are about that $20 to $25 a month less. So male will be at $97.50 and the female will be at $84.78. So some things to keep in mind with the Medicare supplements is there is what's known as the Medigap open enrollment. It is a 6-month period after you first sign up for Part B, whether that's at 65 or later if you delay it due to being on an employer's insurance. During that time, the Medicare supplements cannot ask any health questions. So your acceptance to them is essentially guaranteed. So you want to make sure that during that first 6 months that you're on Part B, you pick out a supplement so that way you don't have any of those health questions pop up. These supplements are accepted everywhere that Medicare is accepted. Medicare is accepted by 91% of doctors across the U.S. So it has there's very few doctors that don't take Medicare. There are even probably less hospitals that don't take Medicare. Not only do the local hospitals around here, the Kettering, the Premiers, take Medicare, but also your big hospitals, the Columbus hospitals, the James, the Wexner Center, Cleveland Clinic, and even the Mayo Clinic up in Minneapolis all take traditional Medicare. They would then all take your Medicare supplement as well. You can change your supplement at any day, at any time, but you do need to qualify based on your health after that Medicare or Medigap open enrollment period. Okay, so you get that kind of one freebie right when you sign up, and then after that, you do have to qualify based on your current state of health. The last part underneath option 1 is your prescription drug plan, or Part D. These are not run through Medicare, though the standards are set by Medicare. Currently, there are 28 different plans available here in the state of Ohio, and the average cost for the plan is $32.74. The cheapest one is at $14.20. The most expensive one is up around $80 a month. But most people end up with a plan around $25 to $30 or so. Drug plans come in 4 stages. And each drug plan has these 4 stages. Stage 1 is the deductible. So you'd be responsible to pay 100% of the cost of your medication if your plan has a deductible. The deductible ranges between $0 to $435 for 2020. In 2021, they're upping that to $445 that you're responsible for. Stage 2 is known as the initial coverage level. This would look very similar to how your employer plan, meaning that you may have a $1 copay for a generic, a $10 copay for a tier 2 generic, and maybe a $40, $50 copay for a plan name medication. Stage 3 is known as the coverage gap or the donut hole. So in stage 2, while you're paying, let's say, $50 for your medication, the full price may be $500. Medicare is keeping track of that $500 each month that you get your medication. When that $500 adds up to $4,020, you then move into the donut hole or the coverage gap. In that time period, you would be paying 25% of the full cost for brand name medications and 25% of the full cost for your generic medications. So we do see people that when they hit the donut hole, their medications do increase. So while you're paying 25%, so that $500 a month medication is now, instead of $50, it's now $125. You pay that until you reach the catastrophic coverage. So very similar. Medicare keeps track of that $500, and once it adds up to $6,350, you move into catastrophic coverage. At that time, you pay a very low copay, somewhere around $10 to $15 a month for your medications. But then once January 1st hits, you start back at stage 1. One thing I do want to mention is that President Trump passed I don't recall what the name of the legislation passed, but if you are on insulins, if you're a diabetic and you're on insulins, some prescription drug plans starting in 2021, they create a cap that you can only pay up to $35 for a month's supply of your insulin. So if you are a diabetic, you have insulins, and you've been put into the coverage gap previously because they are expensive medications, you may want to search out a plan that has that cap available. Not every plan will have it, only certain plans will. So that may help you lower your drug costs. And the time to make that change is coming up here in the annual enrollment period. Some things to keep in mind with the drug plan is if you don't sign up when you're first eligible, much like Part B, you can have a late enrollment penalty. This one occurs a little bit slower. It's a 1% per month instead of just out the gate at 10%. The plan that's right for you is dependent on your medications. So if you've got a list of 10 and your neighbor has a list of 1, they're going to be on a much different drug plan than you are. A low premium plan or even a no deductible plan may not make it the best plan for you. You have to look at all of your costs, not only the premium, the deductible, but your co-pays and your co-insurances, especially if you are entering into that donut hole. Some plans do a much better job of covering medication in that donut hole than others. As I said before, you want to review your coverage every year. You can do that during the annual enrollment period, which is October 15th through December 7th. So we're about a month away. Some things to keep in mind is you want to look for convenience. Make sure that the pharmacy that you go with is a preferred in-network pharmacy. So whether that's Kroger, Walmart, Walgreens, CVS, or even a small Hawks Pharmacy in Piqua or Schwieterman's Pharmacy. Make sure that they're a preferred in-network pharmacy, lower that cost as much as you can. Look at mail order options. Done mail order before, mail order options generally are cheaper than going into the store. Coverage, you just want to make sure that the plan covers all of your current medications, and then if you know that you're going on to a new medication, bring your formulary booklet along with you to your doctor's office so that way he can prescribe a medication that is a part of your formulary. And then 3 is just cost. Know all of your possible costs. Medicare.gov, you can use that to compare plans. You can also call OSHIP, which is the Ohio Seniors Health Insurance Information Program. There's also some volunteers in Troy from OSHIP that they can help you reshop your drug plan, show you what your cost would be over the course of a year. So that's kind of the breakdown of option 1 or traditional Medicare. So now we'll move over to option 2 or Medicare Advantage. Medicare Advantage is an alternative to traditional Medicare. So your bills are no longer going through Part A or Part B. You are still responsible to pay your Part A and Part B premiums. So for most people, that is that $144.60 a month that you're still going to be responsible for. These are provided by private health insurance companies, such as Anthem, Medigold, Humana. Each insurance company sets its own benefits, its own co-pays, its own deductibles. So the benefits vary widely between Company A and Company B. So how do Medicare Advantage plans work? The easiest way to explain it is they work very similar to how your employer plan works. So when you go to your family doctor, you may have a $5, a $10 copay. You go to a specialist, it might be a $40, $45 copay. If you're having major surgery, they may pay 80%, you're responsible for 20%. And so you're going to have those different copays each time you go to the doctor, each time you go to the hospital, each time you have a surgery, physical therapy visit. These Advantage plans are also networked plans. So there is a certain network of doctors and hospitals that you have to stay within. If you go to a doctor that's not a part of the network, you could end up paying either half of his bill or 100% of his bill, depending on which type of plan that you have. Because you have these out-of-pockets set throughout the year, they do set a cap on what you could spend out. They can be as low as $2,900 or as high as $10,000. So, if you don't go to the doctor a whole lot, a Medicare Advantage plan may work out for you. But if you do have a year where, you have a major diagnosis, you're in a car accident, you could see a lot of money out of pocket with the Medicare Advantage plan. You cannot purchase a supplement to help pay these expenses. So whatever the copays, coinsurances, you have to be comfortable with paying those. Depending on the type of plan, whether it's an HMO or a PPO, you may have to use in-network providers. In fact, they prefer they use in-network providers. Companies must follow rules set by Medicare, though they are a little bit more, pestery when you're trying to recover from a surgery, contacting the nursing home and maybe telling you that 3 days is enough, you guys can go home, whereas your doctors and nurses may think you may need a little bit longer. So they do kind of bother you a little bit more than what traditional Medicare would. Medicare Advantage plans only contract with Medicare for a 12-month period or 1 calendar year. So the benefits in the plan that works well this year may not work well for you next year. Doctors can go in-network, doctors can go out-of-network year to year. There's a plan that's coming out that this year has Ohio State as an in-network facility. Next year, Ohio State is going to be an out-of-network facility. So if somebody who really likes Ohio State and is going there for treatment, they are going to want to change their Advantage plan this year to make sure that they can still access that. You can make those changes between October 15th and December 7th of every year during that annual enrollment period. If you want to go back to traditional Medicare, if you're on a Medicare Advantage plan, you can go back to Part A and Part B, but that Medicare supplement, if you're outside of that 6-month window, they can decline you based on your current state of health. The plan also may only cover you for emergencies outside of your home state. So it's something to keep in mind if you do plan on traveling.
Adam, that is the biggest misconception or confusion that I think Gina and I run into in our patients is when they have a Medicare Advantage and they think that it's traditional Medicare. Like there's some confusion, and it's gotten better over the years. When it first became a popular thing, it was more confusing, but it's important to understand, for people to understand, that Medicare Advantage plans have their own advantages, but it's not the same as traditional Medicare, not
Right.
where you can go or the coverage. And that's the biggest misconception that I see a lot of times, is just that confusion that I think sometimes people think it covers Medicare plus, and it doesn't.
Yeah. And I'm sure, some of the confusion also is that you will have companies such as Anthem. They have Medicare supplements and they also have Medicare Advantage plans. And so a person just knows they have their Anthem card, but they really don't know what they have. And so, if you're working with somebody, and you're looking at maybe making a change and you want to stay away from Medicare Advantage plans, make sure that you're getting a standard Plan G, Plan N on it. You want to, if they say, oh, you have a copay or a coinsurance or a max out of pocket, that most likely means that you're being told about a Medicare Advantage plan. You may want to stay away from that. But yeah, it is getting better, but people do still confuse them on a day-to-day basis.
The whole, that whole thing of coverage changing, like your doctor may be in network and then out of network, that's really scary to me. how did they find that out, or how would a person know that in time to make a change?
So during the annual enrollment period, you may, since you're in the healthcare field, may be able to shed a little bit more light on this. But generally, by the annual enrollment period, the insurance companies know what doctors, what hospitals are going to be in network for the upcoming year. So that would be the time you can either, if you work with an agent, contact the agent, say, are all of my doctors still going to be in network for next year? If you don't work with an agent, you can always reach out to the doctor's office and just say, are there going to be any changes? I know a lot of doctor's office, if they are no longer going to accept United Healthcare, they're probably going to post something to the social media pages, maybe send a letter out to all of their clients who have United Healthcare. Usually that's, a couple months ahead of schedule. Not saying that some doctors may, hey, we're not going to take them next month and kind of drop out. That may happen, but most doctors, most hospitals are a little bit more proactive than that. It is scary, so definitely during the annual enrollment period would be a time to reach out to just check. You can even call your plan. If you have Anthem customer service number on the back, call them and say, I just want to make sure that for next year with my plan, or my doctors are part of the network, and the customer service representative should be able to go through that list with you.
Okay, thanks.
Yep. So looking at kind of your two options when it comes to getting your Medicare coverage. The first one obviously is traditional Medicare, adding on that supplement and a prescription drug plan. And the second one is doing a standalone Medicare Advantage plan with Part D coverage. So for the first one, Part A, most people have a $0 cost. Part B is $144.60 here in 2020. Supplemental Plan G, $102.52. And the Part D national average is $32.74. So your total there, you're looking at roughly $280 a month for a female at age 65. Male at 65 was $112, so that's about $290 a month. If you recall, with that Plan G, your only out-of-pocket is at $198 for the year. So you're very well covered for any doctor visits, hospital stays, any medical necessities that you might need. Great coverage for that. Your second option is to go with the Medicare Advantage plan. Once again, you're still paying your Part A and Part B premiums, so $0 for Part A, $144 for Part B. Medicare Advantage plans, they are actually county specific. So the plans that you may have in Miami County are going to be a little bit different than plans in Montgomery County, in Miami, or in Shelby County, in Darke, and Greene County. So what we did is we took all the plans in Shelby, Miami, and Montgomery County, averaged them all out, and the price we came up with was $70. There are plans out there for $0. There are plans out there for $120, but $70 was the average cost. Like I said before, Part D coverage is usually included in the Medicare Advantage plan. So there you're looking at about $214 a month for that coverage. So as you can see, it is about $60, $70 less a month than the traditional Medicare. However, if you recall, you're going to have co-pays, co-insurances. You'll most likely have more out-of-pocket expenses going with a Medicare Advantage plan than with Medicare supplements, to the tune that you could see $5,000 to $6,000 out a year. So you have to really be comfortable with that you could see that year after year if you have a ongoing medical issue.
That's really interesting, because I feel like, Adam, like one of the biggest reasons that people choose Medicare Advantage is because of the cost. They always say it's less expensive, so that's what I changed to. And it's like, obviously underneath all the layers, it ends up not being that way. You can't get a supplement to pay for the out-of-pocket costs. You know, you've got more out-of-pocket costs. So it's interesting how they get to that, that's the reason that they switched was because of the cost.
Yeah, and the big one now is you're going to have all these celebrities. I know the one now is Joe Namath. He's out there selling Medicare Advantage plans, and so you know, he's telling you what great things they do. You can get a plan for $0 a month. It includes dental and vision coverage, and you know, you can get low cost prescription coverage. And yes, that's all great stuff. But on the flip side is, you know, if you're, you know, seeing your doctor twice a month because, you know, you're monitoring a certain condition, or you're going to physical therapy, or you know, you have a major diagnosis, that $5,000 can eat up any of your cost savings. You know, we even had a client that went on a Medicare Advantage plan when he turned 65. Enjoyed it because he saw his doctor twice a year. Then he got diagnosed with cancer, and he got diagnosed late in the year. So it's like October, November, December. He sees $6,000 out. January 1st hits, he's still going through treatment. He sees another $6,000 out. So in a span of about 6 months, it's $12,000. He didn't really like the plan after that. Unfortunately for him, he couldn't move because one of their questions is, have you been diagnosed with cancer within the past 2 to 5 years? So he was kind of stuck with that Medicare Advantage plan for a while until we could get past that look back period to get a Medicare supplement for him. So yes, they're going to tell you all the great things about it. But you know, when you actually go to use it, it may not be the best option for yourself.
Right. That was something that I wrote down that you had said, Adam. Just, it can be a good plan if you don't have to go to the doctor much. And you're like this gentleman who was early in retirement, he's 65. But if you do have a diagnosis, like for our friends with Parkinson's who are going to watch this video, is that a good option for you if you've got a chronic diagnosis like Parkinson's that requires most often a higher level of care throughout the year?
Yeah, most likely not. No. You know, if you're on Medicare supplements, you know, with Parkinson's, and you know, you're going through, you know, year after year of having that higher level of care, I would stay with that Medicare supplement. I would not switch to a Medicare Advantage plan. Even though you may see your premium increasing, you can probably, you know, almost guarantee that you're still saving money overall. Because I'm sure if you see those hospital bills and those doctor bills that come through, you're not paying that, the supplemental is.
Right. And sometimes I think the loss isn't even so much in dollars, but it's the loss of services. Because people, you know, Shannon and I are both therapists. So sometimes they'll choose not to have therapy, or they'll only have 4 visits approved, you know. So it's the loss of access to some healthcare that otherwise is traditionally covered with traditional Medicare plans with the addition of a supplement.
Yeah, and I'm sure you guys can speak to that. You know, with traditional Medicare, you know, those first 20 days, Part A covers, and then the next 80 days, there is a copay per day, but with a supplement, you know, most likely you're getting 100 days for no cost. Medicare is not really going to talk to you, and not going to talk to your service providers until you're probably getting close to that 100th day. Whereas a Medicare Advantage plan, by day 3, they're calling them up and telling them to put a stop to the service. You know, well, they're better, they're fine. Whereas you two probably experience it that they're not much better than when we first met them. You know, you're trying to fight with the insurance company to cover the next 3 days of treatment or the next, you know, physical therapy visit.
Well, especially like for friends with Parkinson's or some other condition, you know, something that an insurance company sees as simple, maybe a knee replacement or a broken bone, isn't simple for someone with a chronic condition. But they kind of hold everybody to the same standard. And yeah, you're right. They start calling right away. And so I think Gina's right about the loss of services. Whereas traditional Medicare doesn't, they don't call and ask us for what we're doing and if it's, how much more time we need, as well as our patients who have Medicare with the supplement, they are often covered for their outpatient therapy or, those types of things 100%. And it just brings them so much more peace of mind. And so I see them taking advantage of therapy and taking full advantage of the services that they need because it's one less thing to worry about. They don't have to worry about getting a bill from us later. Whereas when you're on an Advantage plan or something else where you're like, or those of us that are on private insurance still working, you never know. You're like, how much am I going to end up paying? I don't know. And it's always kind of a surprise when you get your bill. And so I think that brings a lot of anxiety to people. And then sometimes the easier thing to do is just to not do.
They just ignore the issue.
Yeah, not go to the doctor.
Yeah.
And we want everyone to go to the doctor and do your therapy.
Yes. Yeah.
Make sure everyone understands it's not okay to just not do it.
No. That's what they're there for. They're there to get you better, get you healthy. So go there, listen, follow their directions. So just to kind of wrap up, for myself is that, if you do have questions or if you want somebody to take a look at your plan, we're coming up to that annual enrollment period. We'd be happy to sit down and kind of review what you have. We'll be honest with you. If you exactly where you need to be, we'll tell you, stay exactly where you need to be. If we think that, you may be better served by going somewhere else, we'll let you know that, and then you can make the decision whether you want to move forward with it or stay where you're at.
Yeah, well, I appreciate that so much, Adam, because I do think that you and Dan do such a nice job presenting it on such just an informational level for clients to make their own, decision. And I definitely recommend Seniormark as far as that goes, to just get a better understanding of what your options are, because it's extraordinarily important, that you understand it and that you don't just go with, well, this is what this guy tells me to get.
Yeah. So,
and I recommended Seniormark to my own family. I recommend them to everyone that is approaching Medicare age, because I just don't think it's a decision that you should make without having all the information.
We're appreciative of everybody who's passed on kind words throughout the years for us.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thank you so much.
Yeah.
Thanks. My favorite is that outline chart for the supplements. I love how you have all the kind of gaps, and then you show in red where they don't cover and black where it does. I really love that. I think that's a great tool.
Yep. A lot of people, that chart comes in very many different flavors, but we like the one where it's color coded. You can easily tell this is covered, this is not covered. So, well, I guess I'll go ahead and end the recording, and then you and I, we can chat after. So thanks everyone for staying on and watching the presentation.
Great. Thanks, Adam.
Yep.
Bye.